Hey kids, welcome back to 396 Guitars. We have a Tokai Les Paul on the bench today. We are changing tuners. We already fabricated a new tusk nut for it, and we're going to do a restring and a setup. So let's get to work. As I said, we already put a new tusk nut in it. I like tusk because they're kind of pre-lubricated and they're generally a pretty decent fit, although you still got to do a fair amount of massaging and whatnot. But that's another story. Let's get these strings off because we are changing these tuners. We're putting clues on. These are kind of throwback double ring to try to match, and they're a little lighter color. These are green. Customer hates green. Let's get to it. Strings come off. The camera's picking up on it, but that tuner is like wobbling. It's all bent. And, one of the complaints was tuning stability, number one. And one of the other complaints was when he was tuning, you would hear like a pink, tink. And I don't think it's coming from down here. I'm almost certain it was coming from up here. I've been checking it semi-regularly since I've been waiting for the tuners to come in, and that condition is repaired. It's fixed. The old nut was just that old and worn. This is probably a 70s or 80s Tokai. Maybe newer. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, there you go. Strings off. We're going to restring it and do a setup on it again. I did a setup on this, I think, semi-recently, maybe 6 months ago. If my records are correct. So it shouldn't need too much. I remember from doing the setup on this before, when I did the restring after I fabbed out the nut, the neck is pretty much done. It can't move can't put any more relief in it. So we have to make sure it's got a single action truss rod in it. And unless you're going to go to the lengths of heating this up and pressing it, and that's a lot of, especially on a Les Paul, because they're a set neck. You can't take the neck off and do that process. You heat it, and then you press it into relief, and then tighten up the truss rod so that then you can snug up the truss rod. So then you can bring the relief up to where you want it. This one is bone flat, which is okay. It's not in the back bow, but it won't go into relief anymore. But I think we're going to be okay with that. That saddle will stay. Let's get one of these out right now and see what is going on. If it's going to be if it's going to agree with me or if it's going to disagree with me. These, I'm hoping, and they should be a semi-direct fit. I say semi-direct fit because nothing is ever really a direct fit. I'm going to leave the vintage bushings in there just to test the first one. Let's see. It comes with, new bushings and screws. I'm curious to see just how they fit. Like a glove. Like a glove. Yeah, there's always a little play. And these are set bushings. I think I'm going to leave them in there. Unless these are the ones that it comes with are less play. Less play is always better. What kind of stupid packaging is this? Not sure. Not sure. I don't know. I think I'm gonna put the new bushings in, because these are gonna be bright chrome. Those old bushings are kind of worn. Let's pop them out. Put the new bushings in. We have all new bushings. Let's use them. Yeah, fella. Gotta get that out. Now, I see quite a bit of chip out here, like something has been done in the past. There's another hole there. I wonder. I believe it's 4 that I use. I hope they didn't glue them in. They should pop out relatively easily with just a little persuasion, like so. I have gotten these in with, the previous tech glued them in there for whatever reason. And this probably had a different style tuner on it at some point in its life, because there's an open hole right there, which I am going to fill. I don't want that open hole there anymore. And it looks like our new bushings, are they going to work nicely? Nice. Or are they too big? I believe they're a little too big. And I do not want to bore the hole out. Yeah, these bushings are slightly larger, but the play is the same. We're going to stay with the old bushings, just because I don't want to. This is a vintage, pretty close to what I would consider a vintage instrument, and I don't want to go digging at that. But what I am going to do, so we're not going to use the bushings. We'll probably use the new screws though. All right. Keep the new screws out here. I'm going to check and see if they all have an extra hole there. Come down here a little bit more centered. There's an extra hole right there, right next to the bore. Yeah, that one's got one too. I'm going to fill these. I'm going to go ahead and fill them. I don't want that there anymore. That should be filled. It's very close to the bore. I don't think it would cause any issue, but I'm going to err on the side of caution and repair that. You guys get to see a little extra bonus repair. Just trying to find out what will work in there and fit relatively snugly. I think I'm going to have to let's see what we got here. Little A. I don't want to drill it out any bigger. I'd like this to go in there nice and snug, but it's not going to. You might have to bore it out slightly, because you want the plug that you're putting in there. This is just a Q-tip. Yeah. And I know a toothpick will be too loose. Do I have any smaller dowel? I don't think I have any regular dowel that small. Yeah. So tell you something. Never super easy. What size is this? Oh, 0.090. So what size would that be? 3/32. Not a big deal, but I'm not going to just leave it like that. All we got to do is make it just a bit larger. All right, let's get them all out and do them all at once. So we're going to use the old bushings, and we're going to fill these extra holes that I'm assuming were from a different style tuner at some juncture in this guitar's life. I'm pretty certain, judging by the fit of the first one, that we can reuse the holes. Two of these tuners were bent for sure, and when I was doing the last restring, when I was fabbing out the new nut, some of them feel really wonky, so I get why the client wants to replace them. Just to make certain, yeah, our other holes are going to line up really nicely. We don't have to worry about those. So 3/32. We're going to drill these out slightly just to make them a little bit. The next size is all it is. It's the next size up. I don't know why the previous tech would not have filled these. Absolutely should. I don't think it was me. I'm pretty certain it wasn't. Now, you going to fit in there nicer? Oh yeah, nice and snug. Nice and snug. I like it. This will become solid as if it is part of the wood, which I think is mahogany. A little bit of glue, right? This stuff is semi-forgiving. It sets up pretty quickly. So all we're going to do is fill these holes. I'm going to show you how I do it, and go right to, it'll dry underneath the new tuners when you put them on. So toothpick, you want to put the glue in the hole, not so much on the stock that you're putting in the hole. And just a little bit on the toothpick, and let it get in there. It only takes a little dollop. I'm going to show you these first two, and I'll do all of them off camera because it'll take me a few minutes. I want to save some video time. All we're going to do is press it down in there, and lightly tap it until it gets home. Right? And then snip it off. Nice and flush. Flush cut pliers. If there's any little bit there, which sometimes there is, flush cut. Sometimes it's just a little nubbin sticking up. Use a flat punch just like that to, that's it, nice and close. Yep. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to pause. I'm going to do the other 4. We'll be right back. Okay, so I filled all the holes, made them nice and level, cleaned up the nubbin that sticks out, and put in the new screws. And yes, make sure you don't put them upside down. It'll look stupid. Printing goes this way. Nice. Oh, they feel good. I like that. And you see it covers up the old hole that we just filled. Last guy should have done that. Lazy, I guess. I don't know. This one turned out to be pretty easy. Sometimes you got to do a lot of massaging to get these to fit right, or sometimes there's no holes and you have to drill your own and get these set as straight and perfect as you can. And because of the shape of the headstock, it's not always as easy as it looks, but you just kind of use a straight edge when you're putting in new and you're starting, say, with a bare headstock, or you're taking old ones out like this guy did and put these on. So I'm just putting them back where they were. It seemed fine to me. And they're going to look absolutely cool on there. Nobody ever sees this side anyway. This jewelry will never show, hardly ever. They're snugging right up nice. I like that. We didn't have to bore out this hole any bigger. If we wanted to use the new bushings, yes, we would have had to do that. And I would sometimes do it, but not in this particular instance. I think it's going to look better with the vintage #1, the vintage relicing on the old bushings that are currently on it. And because it's an older instrument, I don't want to cut on it and grind on it any more than needed, any more than necessary. That's my call. I made an executive decision today. I feel so powerful. Beautiful. They do look sharp, and they're not nearly as green. They call these greenish, but there's hardly any green tint in them at all, which is perfect for this client because he hates green. Doesn't like green. I don't know why. That's all right. I don't like blue. Basic black. It's always worked for me. All right, let's see what they look like on the other side. Nice. Yeah, I think they're going to look just fine with those old bushings. They're matching up beautifully. These are nickel anyway, so they're very similar, very close, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. Strings. We're going to put some Ernie's. with some earlies. That is that. Pretty simple and straightforward. That was an easier one on the scale of 1 to 10. That was easy. As far as 1 being easy, it was definitely a 1, or 10 being the easiest. The lower the number, the harder it is. Yeah, this was a 10. It wasn't hard at all, other than filling in those other holes. And you saw how simple that is. Just be careful when you're tapping them in there. You don't want a broken headstock. And it can happen. And it has. Not to me. Pretty certain I like the setup that's on this. The only thing I want to revisit right now, when you're going to see my big fat head, is I want to get my googly eyes on and really look closely at this nut slots and see if I want to clean it up any now that it's had strings on and off, to see if there's any errant chipping or stuff in there that I don't want. And it looks pretty good. Tusk nuts are my favorite. They tend to work beautifully, and they almost stay lubricated. That's kind of their claim to fame. They stay lubricated for life because of the composite material that they use. I can dig it. All right, I'm going to pause while I get the strings on, and then we're just going to run through a quick setup on it because I already pretty much did that. Should have just enough to go 1 wrap above the string hole and 1 wrap below it. You don't want to have too much extra on here because there's not a whole bunch of, pegs sticking through, and that's perfect. So if you measure on these, it's going to live here, you measure to the next one. You got 1 solid wrap above the string hole and 1 full wrap, and it's just starting to come around the second one for the underneath the string hole. And that is perfect for locking the string in place. Snip it off close. Stand by while I finish this. I'll be right back. So all the strings are on, and let's just tune it up. We're going to tune it and pre-stretch the strings. Just give them a tug. That helps to seat them, and pre-stretch. They feel a million times better than the old ones. I can assure you of that. And they look pretty sexy. Now, I'm pretty certain this was I usually like 12 thousandths, and it's more like 10. Yeah. It's more like 10 thousandths. It's pretty straight. It's straighter than I would normally want it, but it's acceptable. Yeah. And her string height. Of course, I did all this before when I did the nut. I'm just kind of going through it as an exercise to double check my work. And I am actually going to bring this side up slightly. Let's see. Nope, right at 5. 5/64 and a little over 4/64 on that side. He likes his action a little bit higher. I'm sure that 5 is acceptable and perfectly okay. One of his complaints was, other than tuning instability, was buzzing. And when I got it, the action was a little too low. I either set it too low when I did the setup back in May. It's November now. Or, you know, wood changes and that relief can change between the seasons, especially here in Florida, where it's subtropical half the year and semi-arid the other half of the year. There's no other way to explain it, describe it. But she plays beautifully. Right? Beautiful guitar. Beautiful guitar. And it's going to be fine at that neck relief. What the future holds for it, uncertain. Because, you know, in a perfect world, I would like a little bit more relief in it. But hey, you can't, like the song goes, you can't always get what you want. It's playing perfectly right now. It is at the outer limit of acceptability for me. But that's me. Other techs would have it super flat like this and have the action even lower. It depends on the player. It depends on what the client wants and how he plays it. That's what's most important, not what I like, what the book says to put it at. I happen to know this client very well. I work on a lot of his instruments, and that's where I usually set them. So we're going to leave it like that. Beautiful. You saw how we put in a new set of tuners. We got lucky today in this video because it wasn't a whole lot of extra work, but you did see that there were extra holes there left over from the previous job that we filled, restrung it, double-checked my adjustments from fabbing up the nut, and that's it. So we'll talk soon. It's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. I dig all your comments. I try to read them all. I try to respond. If you dig what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. We'll talk soon.